I think today we're going to, at least I'm planning on focusing more on patriotism here in the U.S. because we have a special holiday coming up. I would say just as important as Juneteenth. I would say for cultural reasons, Juneteenth is definitely more important right now, though. Wouldn't you agree, Jared?
Sure, yeah.
But the holiday I'm talking about is the 4th of July.
Cool. Well, yeah, so I think we're good. That is good. Yeah, so...
do you want the music?
Let's do the... I don't know why, man. I just like the music. Once again, it's a vibe.
I like it too, especially
at
the beginning.
Mm-hmm. I like all the little random music we have
here.
here.
Yeah, you do.
We work hard for this stuff, Jared.
You do.
Oh, speaking of music, my telly build is almost done. Maybe we should... I got it upstairs. We'll snap a couple pics, pop it on the gram today. Because once again, Jared, you know, the beauty of hobbies and things during quarantine or just living life is, building things, making things. You know, I think being creative is a good outlet. So we'll pop that up there for you, for all of our music people tuning in to the Untranslatable podcast. Well, without further ado, hello and welcome to the Untranslatable podcast. Today we have an exciting episode all about patriotism, and we're going to be focusing on U.S. patriotism today. At least I will be. I'm pretty sure that's what our focus is on, because we do have a holiday coming up. Well, it will actually already have come and passed, I guess, when this episode drops, if I'm breaking the fourth wall here. But it is 4th of July, which is when the United States said, no thank you, Britain. We're going to do things our own way, and declared independence. So we're here to celebrate the Independence Day and talk about patriotism, because I think Independence Day is a way that a lot of Americans show their patriotism quite a bit, and maybe even a little too much so in some people's opinions. So we'll be talking about that today. So my man who brings the balance and the clarity and the knowledge and facts to this podcast that aren't meme news, my buddy Jared. What's going on, Jared?
I was actually quite flattered with that introduction you just gave me, up until you said facts, and I was like, I can't promise that. Right up until that, I was flattered. I was like, oh no, he's just put me into something I definitely will not be delivering on.
We got to figure out a hand signal or something when I start to go off on the intros. You can be, hey, rein it back in.
I will say this though. Here's one fact I'll drop early, and that is that we are going to be focusing on American patriotism, because patriotism, if I'm not mistaken, is a American thing. I mean, a patriot is someone that fought in the war against the British. That is what a patriot is.
To Americans, yes.
Oh, but isn't that where the term comes from?
I'm not sure.
See, this is where the facts already goes off the rails.
I'm not sure. I mean, you would have to look at the etymology of the word patriot.
Sure. Yeah.
Which we can do very quickly.
All right. Well,
I'll look it up.
Yeah.
I'm
While
sure
he's doing that,
I'm willing to bet you it comes from French.
Maybe. Let me know.
Would be, yeah.
While he's doing that, please, everyone, if you have a chance, or if you don't, regardless, make time and
spread a little love.
Follow us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. As Chad mentioned, maybe it'll be in this podcast or not. He has a fancy guitar that he's been building. Actually, it's not that fancy. That's why he's been building it.
That's true. Just some screws and some bolts, Jared.
He's made some progress. You know, during this quarantine, you have to have activities. And I like to see Chad's having activities. You can also follow us on Twitter, my activity, Twitter, where I retweet nonsense and some facts. And I also post things like the episode and interact with people occasionally. You can follow us there on Translatable 1, the number 1.
Spread a little love.
Numero uno.
And then, of course,
Пожалуйста.
5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher would be greatly appreciated. And, oh, by the way, we're on the porch once again, slightly different angle. And this angle is so fitting to our outfit, because we're wearing these Hawaiian shirts from Bali.
Tropical shirts.
True. Not Hawaiian. They're Hawaiian shirts from Bali. Right. Thank you, Chad, by the way.
Yeah. That red looks good on you, man. Red is a good color for you.
This is the second time I've worn this shirt. The first time was
Didn't you wear it on the your other pod, your Millennial State of Mind pod?
Okay, you're right. This is the third time I've worn this. That might have been the next morning.
Been watching you, Jared.
How'd you see that? Oh,
I follow you guys on Instagram. Yeah, of course. How else would I see
it? I wore it the first time I wore it. I was sitting on my front porch, and I got like 3 comments. Like, I love the shirt. And I was like, oh, wow, look at that. Look at that. And I felt confident in it, so I had to wear it out against.
They're
We did not
perfect
plan
for this
by the
weather.
way.
We didn't, but it's hot out. We got a heat wave now in Michigan.
Yeah,
coming on
Is it
for
a
5
legit
days.
heat wave?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
around the U.S. Yeah, because we'll be in the upper 90s Fahrenheit, in the 30s plus, and for our Celsius listeners out there, got to be inclusive here, Jared.
I guess.
So we were talking about patriotism. Speaking of being inclusive, Jared.
Yeah.
So a patriot, actually, the word patriot comes from Greek initially. Patris, meaning father or land. Patrios, of one's parents. Patriotes, which then turned into Latin, patriota, fellow or countryman, and then, as I said, French, patriote. That's probably not how you say it, but from 16th century, and then from the 16th century, it then moved on into English.
But so they had the word,
Right. But you're saying being a patriot is a very...
that's what they called like.
But I
people
think a patriot is just someone who lives in a country.
and like loves their country.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a patriot, it's not...
lives in the country.
No, anyone that lives and
period?
loves... No, anyone that lives in... Yeah, would be like... I would say anyone who lives in a certain country would be a patriot of that country.
Sure.
And then if you're patriotic...
Should I let?
Yeah, sure, let her out. She'll lay down in the sun. She's our third
Come on.
guest on the pod. Come on, Prudy. Good girl. Come over here. All right, so yeah.
I see what you're saying.
But I think patriotism and being very patriotic, I would say, is a very American phenomenon.
Yes.
I'm sorry I'm being nitpicky with words here, Jared.
Please,
but
please.
But yeah, so yeah.
I would like to give an early shout out to some patriots I've seen in the news recently. This is why I love Twitter.
What have you been seeing?
Have you heard about Ken and Karen, the Patriots of Minneapolis?
Yes, and I love that they named them Ken and Karen. And the dude looks like a Ken. Like he has like a pink polo on and
Khakis,
some like
just like pleated
Some
khakis.
khaki
They were
shorts,
both
yeah.
barefoot. Listen, if you're ever going to defend your property, you have time. By the way, like
Right.
it's not like people were immediately threatening you. Put some shoes on.
Right.
Who goes out with the guns on and no shoes?
And
That's such an
weren't
odd way
both of them
defense.
lawyers? Ken and Karen?
Yeah.
They're both lawyers.
and they live in some sort of
Where
weird
was this? Was this
castle
in
mansion.
Missouri? Mississippi?
I thought it was Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. Really.
More
Okay.
facts from Jared.
Right.
I believe it was Minneapolis. Or St. Louis and Minneapolis. Those are right next to each
But
other.
the internet has just eviscerated these two people, and I think for very good reason.
Yes. Or maybe it was St. Louis. It might have been St. Louis.
It might have been, yeah.
But yeah. And so people would say, well, they were breaking into a like a gated community because I think they were trying to get to the mayor's house or something.
Still.
But it's like the thing about the guns is it's so weird how we as Americans, like that's just like our first line of defense.
Yeah, come outside with our guns.
Like,
yeah.
are you telling me you're ready to kill someone right now?
Right.
And I was like, it's clearly not that serious.
And for
yet.
what, too?
And also, they're not coming into your house. You're coming out of your house. And then people were also talking about Karen because she had her little James Bond pistol with her finger on the trigger.
On the trigger incorrectly.
Just pointing
Yeah.
at people. And then the people were also talking about Ken, how he was holding his gun backwards. Like he was.
Right.
It's like neither of them had any sort of training on how to use the guns that they were holding. And
It's
it was
just
just
ridiculous, man.
It's just like, and it's not, and people were like, well, they had the right to defend their property. They're on private property. And I was like, even if that is true, it bothers me aggressively that is someone's first sort of.
That's your go-to.
Like their first thought process is, let me get my gun because I'm probably gonna have, or there's a good chance I'm gonna have to shoot someone.
Right.
It's like the fact that you're going to that so quickly is more disturbing, and the fact that people are trying to be like, well, that's private property, they have the right to do that, and not see the concerning nature that that's just what you go to, even if you're allowed to have it. Why
Right.
is that the first thing? And then there's
right.
Go ahead.
Well, and the other issue with this too is, there are so many other ways you can de-escalate any type of conflict. And they had guns out, and they're technically, from my understanding, and it's hard to say. I've only seen the picture. We don't know the full context of the situation, but I think the way things look, and I could be wrong about this, but from the information I've gotten, which isn't very much, but the way things look, it looks like they came out of the house with their guns, and I just don't get why. That's the first thing you think of.
Yeah.
Is why and it's not like people were robbing their house or destroying their property.
Right.
And even still, I think why is killing someone one of the first things we think of? And I think it's a very American thing.
And also the fact that people can justify it, even if someone, like, it's like, there's always a way to justify killing someone, which is a very odd thing to me. Rather
Right.
than trying to be like, did it like yeah, maybe legally you're allowed to do whatever you did.
Right.
Although I don't think they were legally allowed to just point
No.
guns at people like that.
No.
But it's like even if you're legally allowed to protect your property, it's so weird that we're almost okay with killing people, and there's always like, well, you need to hear the full story. Well, how did it start? Where it's like clearly they weren't like being
Right.
tackled to the ground, and like clearly people weren't busting into their place actively, and it's like it's just so weird that there's always some justification
Well,
for
and
it.
I think in the U.S. a lot of people, I think especially a lot of white people, have this fantasy of they get all these guns,
Yeah.
and then
Protect
I can't
my
wait
property,
till
protect
somebody,
my family.
yeah, I can't wait till somebody breaks into my house so I can shoot him, you know,
Yeah.
and it's, I don't know, I think. I don't see this. I'm sure there are people like this in plenty of other countries, without a doubt. But it just seems to me like just the sheer number of people with guns in the U.S. Not that everyone who owns a gun is a crazy gun lunatic. You know what I mean? But
I
yeah.
saw a bumper sticker on my way home from your place last week. I don't remember exactly what it said now because I didn't really, but it essentially said like where it's like. Either something like I'm trigger happy, so don't test me, or like I'm always locked and loaded, so some sort of like I dare
Stupid,
you
right,
to
right.
and it had like it was like two guns like crossed with some little thing essentially
Right.
saying please rob me.
Right.
Because I am just, and it's almost like you're egging someone on to like you want to, yeah, what you're saying. It's like they just like they almost are trying to justify their ownership of it. And you know, I want to give another shout out to a great American patriot that was in the news last week. Actually, local, relatively local, and Auburn Hills, I believe. A Karen was in the news. I don't
what
know
did she do?
exactly what the story was, but apparently it involved some black people walking behind their car, and I don't know. I don't know what happened, but there was like a family. There was like a little kid there, and like these two women. And this Karen got out of her car, and now people were saying at least she looks trained. She apparently, by her stance and the way she was holding, I don't know. I mean, I know those other Ken and Karen weren't trained,
Right.
But apparently she was trained and knew what she was doing. But she had her gun out at him, like, back up, get away from me, don't get. And it's like,
Oh, I did see that one.
and
yeah.
it's like, I don't know what the story is, but clearly, once again, I don't understand how we're like. When people are like, "Well, I need to see the full story. What's happening?" It's like she's not being robbed at gunpoint.
Right.
It's like that's
Right.
never part of the story.
Well,
Clearly,
I think a
like,
lot
why
of
is-
Americans are quick to pull out a gun.
yeah,
And it's like why, you know, both of us have been in many different countries, and I can't tell you once where I've been in a situation where I've seen someone pull a gun on somebody, whereas I haven't seen it in the
have you seen it
States.
here?
I haven't seen it in the States, but I think the likelihood of it happening here is way higher.
I haven't
than other
seen
places.
it here, obviously. Well, not obviously, but I have definitely been around people that are tangentially connected to me that have like open carry licenses and have walked around just packing. I had a friend in
Right.
high school. His brother I went to his family's Easter party or something, and his brother was locked and loaded at the Easter party, like strapped with the belt thing.
Jeez.
And I was like, I mean, it's one thing to have the license, but what sort of threat are you
Right.
saving us from? Like
At the Easter
At the
party.
Easter
Yeah.
party at your aunt and uncle's house.
Right.
Why do you need it? You couldn't even leave it in
Right.
the car. You need
Well,
like
and
to be
once
constantly just-
once again, it's well, maybe he
and they're
didn't.
in Indiana too, so
Right.
they love to
That's true.
do that stuff.
I wonder though,
too.
maybe he didn't bring it in the car or brought it in the house so he wouldn't leave it in the car. Because I know a lot of people do get their guns if their guns aren't concealed in the right
guess.
place. I guess you would worry about. But once again, this
you could
is the
also
issue.
not bring it with you.
Right, exactly. I think a lot of people have this weird fantasy, like you said, about like being the hero. You
Yeah.
know, having. You know, yeah, it's weird, but yeah, I have a shout out. If we're already in shout out
yeah,
territory.
please. I just love the
Right.
never ending Karen.
Right.
There's so many more that have happened.
Oh, and
by the
there's
way, that I haven't even.
our Karen episode was we might have to do a Karen 2.0 in a month.
We could do, that could we could
A
our
monthly
show could
Karen.
be Karens.
That's true.
We could just do
The
a
Karen
whole spin-off
podcast,
show.
right? Right. Invite them onto the podcast and get their opinion. That would be interesting,
But,
actually.
no,
I
I,
would-
don't want that.
I would be really curious though to hear what actually goes through somebody's mind.
Did you see the one? Did you see the one in I don't know where this was, but there was a couple, and it was like their baby's 1-year birthday, and they were in front of their house taking a picture, and maybe they're in the sidewalk or something. I don't know, but oh no, I remember what it was. The dog was like running up on the 1-year-old, and it was like a little dog, but the mom was like, "Hey, could you not have your dog,
Right.
running up on my kid?" And then it turned into like, "Well, you don't belong here anyway,"
Oh,
and it's
God.
like, "Why are you so afraid of my dog?" And she was like putting the dog up into their faces, and it's like it never had to escalate to this point.
Right.
It's like you just got so offended that someone like told you what to do, essentially, as you said on the other Karen episode. But the reason I brought this up was not even to talk about her, was to talk about her. She gave this little half-ass apology after, and it was just the most pathetic thing. It's like, at this point, why even apologize?
We should do an episode on apologies, though, because I do
Yeah.
think there is a way to. I think some
For sure.
apologies are warranted, and I think some people are.
Well, she never
deserve to be
apologized.
right.
She was like, "I love my neighborhood. I never want to hurt
Yeah, that's
people. I
not
want to
really
bring
an
people
apology.
together." She never even referenced the people that
Right. Right.
in the video.
Yeah, let's do it here. I'm going to text that to you right now because I
Yeah.
always forget.
Our memory is shit. I edit these
always
things and I still forget
Right.
it.
So yeah, but yeah. Oh, we had, speaking of 4th of July and patriotism, fireworks are a huge thing.
Have you been? Oh, I meant to ask you about that so many times. I've been hearing fireworks consistently for the
Oh, me
past.
too.
Oh, even out
Week?
here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm surprised out here because for those of you that you can
We're
see
out in the
if
country,
you watch on
yeah.
YouTube. Chad lives in the middle of nowhere essentially. I saw cows coming here. I never even noticed that before.
Yep. Lots of cows.
But I don't live in a bustling city, but I live closer to Detroit. I live in more of a
You're a suburb.
Yeah, more
You're in the
suburb, and
burbs.
you're more country-ish, I would say.
That's right, boy. I'm country, you suburbs.
And I've been hearing, and dude, I swear to God. So I was sitting on my front porch reading my as I call it to Sydney all the time, my slave book.
Oh, jeez.
I was reading Stand from the Beginning, the book I mentioned that I've been reading, and I swear to God, I saw this mom and son walking down the street, and they just like, as they walked past my house, I just heard, like, I didn't stare at them, but literally, like, I could still see them, and I just heard like this sort of like, not like a firecrackery pop, and I was like, what was that? And it was on my street, and they were the only other people walking down the street, but I've been hearing it forever, and I've been saying, obviously I had no plan on actually doing this, but I've been saying, one night I want to like track down the sound and figure out where this is coming from, because I feel like some of it might be coming from further away than I think, but some of
Could
it
be.
is definitely within like, a couple mile radius.
I mean, sound can carry pretty far, too.
Yes, that's true.
We had one, it was funny, yesterday we had one while I was teaching, and then there was just this loud boom! and at first...
Did your students heard it?
I don't know, but they definitely. I jumped. A little
They
bit.
saw you.
When I was talking, I was like, "Oh," jumped. First, I thought it was like a gunshot or
Yeah.
something. I wasn't sure what it was, but it was a firecracker, obviously. Fireworks.
Have you been hearing? Well, what is this? How do people have this many fireworks all of a sudden? First of all,
Did the laws for fireworks change?
well, they are legal here
Would you
now.
mind, letting her in real quick? Thank you, Jared.
Fireworks are now legal here. Because remember,
people used to go to Ohio because
and
there were
the
different
places-
levels of fireworks. Yeah, for the listeners that don't know,
Or
we
Indiana, too.
Yeah, we love our fireworks, especially around 4th of July. And there are different like types.
Yeah.
And they're more dangerous, the more powerful ones, and they used to not be legal in Michigan, so people would go to Indiana or Ohio.
yeah,
to
and
buy
right
them
on the
and bring
border
back.
there'd be like deals,
Tons of
deals,
fireworks.
deals,
Yeah,
and just like these
this
bars.
huge sign. Yeah, and it's like exactly, dude, America, man, America. But yeah, that's true. Anyways, though, since we were talking about shout outs, I do have one shout out today.
I do want to talk about this fireworks though.
We can talk about it more when we talk about patriotism.
Okay,
That can be
okay.
a little teaser. All right, let me find it here. My first shout out today goes out to our brothers and sisters in Europe, the ones who gifted us the Statue of Liberty. France will be renaming streets after African World War II heroes.
Oh, that's cool.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is according to the BBC. France's Armed Force Ministry has provided local authorities with a guide to 100 Africans who fought for France in World War II so that the streets and squares may be named after them.
Have there been protests? I wonder.
That's a good question. I'm not sure. But right here it says France's reappraisal of its colonial past is fueled by the global anti-racism protests.
No, I mean protest
And
of,
Black
like,
Lives Matter.
Like why we got to change stuff.
Oh, right.
Kind of protest.
Right. Maybe. Yeah. There are many Senegalese and North African soldiers on the list, but none that was in, interesting, French Indochina. That's interesting. Africans played a big role in the liberation of France in 1944. So there you go. So I think this is great, though, that they are, I think there's a lot of still colonialist and imperialist things in society that a lot of people aren't aware of that just kind of float under the radar. And I think it's good that we are starting to do this. It's, this doesn't solve the problem, but it's a nice step.
Yeah. Yeah, and I get so annoyed where like people talking about like we're getting rid of history, where it's like this is not really. First of all, at least the ones in the U.S. A lot of these statues that we have weren't even built like during that time. They were built in like the 50s and 60s to sort of combat the civil rights movement. But also, it's like that's not how history is taught. It's like
Not at all.
read a book.
Right.
It's like no one like just goes around a city. Did I lose my audio?
Keep talking.
People,
No, I
I don't
think
hear
you're
myself anymore. Did the headphones? Oh wait, hold on. It was just a headphone thing that came up.
Oh, sorry.
I think. I hear myself now. Yeah, you're good. It's just like no one. Yeah, that's just not how you learn history. It's like we're erasing history. It's like the history hasn't been erased. The only thing you know about these people is that they exist in the middle of your city, and which I assume means they're a good person or they did something good, right?
Right,
Like that's the
exactly.
extent of these people's knowledge of quote unquote history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think it's great for France to do that. So,
Yeah.
So that's my shout out. So
Yeah.
sending lots of love to everybody in France for doing that and making that happen. Well, Jared, I think you might know what time it is. Yes, it is time for our untranslatables, which are adverbs, axioms, idioms, phrases, sometimes even singular words that we do not have a clean one-to-one translation with in English usually. So we are here, the two professionals and experts. I'm confident to say at this point, to be honest, man.
Every time we have a guest on, it reminds me of how deep.
Although
into this we are.
Zach P was pretty good. He wasn't
He
too
was
bad.
good.
He was
He
pretty
was good.
But I think people who
But I
are
also slowed
bilingual,
myself down a little bit, I'm gonna be
trilingual,
honest with
that's
you.
true. That's true.
I like to give the guest a chance and not just be like, oh, I think it's this.
Right. Oh, for sure. Definitely. But yeah, so speaking of France, Jared, I have a couple French ones today.
Okay.
And I hope you can help me with my French pronunciation since you have way more schooling in French than
Yes.
I do.
That's not saying a lot, though.
Right. Okay, so my first one for you is changer son fusil de pont.
What's the fusil word?
Fusil. Fusil?
Fusil, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, changer son fusil de Paule. De Paul?
P-A
U-L-E. D, then E.
pull.
Okay.
So it's something about all I know is change.
Yep.
That's all I
Change the
got.
shoulder you lean your gun on.
Change the shoulder. Ooh,
Which is a good one for today's
wow.
episode. I tried to find some good ones today.
Hold on, Chad. You
Yep.
deserve a.
Brilliant.
Nice. I was hoping you were going to do the old shotgun one that you used to have. That
Oh yeah, I still have that.
Yeah. Yes. So let's hope you get this right, Jared.
Change
You know
the
what'll
shoulder
happen.
you lean your gun on. Ken could have learned that because I think he was holding
No
it
kidding.
in the
Well,
wrong
he was holding it on
direction.
his belly. It looked like he had enough padding there. He probably would have been okay. He would have been all right. Ken.
Change the shoulder you. Is that
Lean
just
your
like
gun on.
like think outside the box?
Not quite. That's not a bad guess. Let me try to give you some assistance here, Jared. So we did an episode a couple episodes back about racism, right?
Yep.
And honestly, man, it was a learning experience for me. And some of the things I think I definitely had to change the shoulder I leaned my gun on a little bit with the episode.
Like, is it like the hill you die on, or like your?
It's not as an you're getting
like
closer.
your beliefs. Change your beliefs.
Yeah, or change your opinion. Change your
Okay.
opinion,
Oh, yeah, I
change
see
your
what you're
beliefs,
saying.
change
Yeah,
your
yeah.
perspective. Yeah, but
Okay.
I think this is more just change your opinion.
Yeah, not as it doesn't have to be
Right.
that deep.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Okay, I like that one.
Yeah.
That's
What do you got?
actually seems like a one that
It's a
I don't know
fitting
how we
one
don't
for
use here.
today. Right. Maybe we should, Jared. Maybe that should become a drop.
I don't want to. Oh yeah.
Change the shoulder you lean your gun on, Jared.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know why I did that a little
wanna,
southern.
I don't want to. You know why?
That's fair. That's fair. Anyways, Jared, what untranslatable do you have for
Have
me
you
today?
noticed, by the way, I wrote this. Have you noticed that finding untranslatables is getting a little tougher?
A little bit.
I got to go a lot deeper these days.
Right.
And get a little bit more creative with the languages I use. Think of more deeply
All in the
about-
fun, though.
I
All
guess
in the
so.
fun.
I guess so. It is.
I mean, we are 200 episodes in.
I mean, we must have done thousands at this point.
Yep. I would guess. At least 1,000, I would say.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
safe
probably
bet.
about 1,000. My first untranslatable is Greek, and it is Zekoliastika. Let me zoom in a little bit. Zekoliastika, probably. And that means, this is, their translation, unasked. Like your ass, unasked.
Unasked.
Yeah.
Also, on a somewhat related note, ass is a really funny word in English and the way we use it. We should talk about, once again, we should do an episode. I think we did an episode about vulgar words. We should do another one, though,
Okay.
on cuss words, because I think there's more we can touch. Anyways, unasked. Let's get back
That
to your
was so
untranslatable. It was. But anyways, unasked. Is it like you are like discombobulated? Like out of
No.
sorts?
Well, yes, but for a specific reason. It's not what you're thinking.
Okay.
But it's. I'll give you an example.
Is it to be like worked to exhaustion?
There you
Like
go.
work my ass off?
There you go.
Yeah, okay. Because, I mean, we say that in English, work my ass off.
Yeah.
We have all sorts of ass ones in English. Work my
Yeah.
ass off, dumbass.
Work my ass to the bone.
Yep. Uh-huh. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right.
Yeah, we do like the word ass.
We do. All right. Why not? Booties are great, Jared. Booties are great.
Not the way we use it.
Right. All right. So my next one is also French. I don't know why, but I've been feeling, I don't know, that French shout out today for France kind of put me in the French mood. It's
An extended
cool
shout
language.
out. We're
Yeah.
shouting them out through untranslatables.
That's right. So here we go, Jared. Laver son linge.
What? Sorry.
Laver.
Okay.
Laver son linge. Linge.
Longe.
Ling?
Not longe.
Okay. Lings.
Because to be it needs like an EZ or it needs something at the end to
Okay.
make it. And
Yeah,
they
I
don't do E's like Spanish or
I see.
or German where they pronounce
Okay.
it like that. I don't
Okay.
believe.
So laver son ling.
League.
Lix.
I don't
Sal.
know. I'm
En
sorry.
familia.
Okay, I don't know. I mean,
To
obviously I know
wash
family, but
to wash dirty laundry in the family. I think this will be an easy one.
oh, is it just
Not to
like
put you on the
to
spot, but-
air out some like personal grievances?
Yeah, getting together with your family and trying to settle your problems.
That's pretty
Yeah.
similar to
yeah, good work.
that's pretty similar. Oh man, I really get myself going. That's pretty similar to like the English one of airing your dirty laundry.
Yeah.
Where it's like you're just clearing the air.
I mean, I think French and English in a lot of ways are cousins when you look at languages.
Sure, yeah. I'd say they're
And culturally,
very
I don't
similar.
think we're that different from France.
interesting.
In a lot of ways.
Interesting.
In a lot of ways. But I think culturally we are in some.
That kind of makes. I actually believe it because of how much. I mean, at least stereotypically, there is that sort of weird, like rivalry between us.
Right.
About. Anyway, my next one is. Which one do I want to do? My next one is Greek. Again, I'll do Greek again, and it's Pingesi Sena Kotali Nero. Jeez. Pingesi Sena Kotali Nero. The tough thing is, the accent marks, I think, is like an emphasis mark. And I'm like, I don't know where to go.
It's hard, yeah, it's
Don't
hard
forget
to-
about your microphone there,
Yeah,
Chief.
it's hard to know exactly what the
shit,
syllable
I forgot about
stress
the
is
camera,
in
speaking of
other
which.
languages. Sorry, I was trying to listen to it because I was trying
I
to pick out
gotcha.
that last word. It sounded like Nero,
Yeah.
like nothing or zero, or does it
No,
mean
no,
Nero?
no.
The name Nero, the person.
No.
What does it mean? What's
you
the-
drown in a spoon of water.
You drown in a spoon of water. Is it to be? So it's be in over your head, like too much. You're overwhelmed. You can't do it.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The
Are we
simplest
4 for
task
4
seems
this
too
episode?
Difficult. I think so.
All right, well, I think we should end it on that because
Yeah.
we got lots to say about patriotism
Yes,
today,
I'm
Jared.
good with that. I'm good with that.
First of all, let's do a fun little word association here with patriotism, Jared.
Oh, no. My favorite game.
Yeah. I will say, at least for me, though, when I try to think of, I'm a positive person. Not that everything about patriotism is good, because there's a lot of bad to it. But when I think of patriotism, I think of red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
and especially in context with 4th of July, because you see it everywhere. Everywhere.
Barbecues,
Oh,
a lot
yeah.
of hearty steaks,
Yep.
hot dogs.
Some dogs. All right, so word associations.
We got rudely distracted.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard that. That was me. Not rudely distracted. We got distracted. But anyway, I was talking about the BBQ.
Yep.
And I think that in general, not just on a 4th of July thing, but I think there is something very quote-unquote patriotic about a grill and grilling out, cooking food on the grill.
Oh, for
It's a
sure.
very American thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. Another thing I associate with patriotism is military. When I think of
Yes.
patriotism, I think of
course.
and I think countries. I think the U.S. We are probably one of the most patriotic countries in the world. But I think China is a pretty close second, maybe even.
That was an eye-opener with Zach.
Yeah.
When there are a lot of parallels that I'd never realized before.
And from what I've heard, now I haven't been to Russia yet. I hope to visit at some point. But
Similar vibe.
That's what David was telling me. Germany is like the opposite, I would say, when it comes to patriotism. If you compare the U.S. and Germany, you don't see the flags everywhere. You don't see wearing German flags on clothes everywhere like you do in the
They
U.S.
have a weirder relationship. Well, not a weirder,
It's
probably
just
a
the
healthier
history.
relationship with their.
Right.
Honestly, I think what it is they just have a healthier and more awareness of their history.
Yeah, I
And
would
one,
agree.
it does help that it's more recent, I guess.
Oh, definitely.
But also, I think they do make a point to teach it, and they still actively sort of police it, and
definitely.
don't allow and try to stop it in its steps when it does still come up today. And we don't really do that here.
Right. Yeah. I definitely think military is a big one for patriotism.
This
What other things?
This idea of heroism.
Oh, yeah.
Is it-
Well, I think
and,
if
like-
you look at superheroes, just how popular superheroes are
Yeah.
in the media. It's funny, though. I've been doing superhero lessons with my students in Russia. And you know what their number one kind of almost unanimous favorite superhero
Captain
is?
America.
Yes, sir.
Interesting.
It's Captain
And
America.
that's the thing
Number
about
two seems to be Hulk.
That's the thing about a lot. See, a lot of the superheroes in the movies, at least, most superheroes
They're
in the
American.
comic books and stuff.
A lot of them.
Well, yeah, yes. Even if they, it's interesting because, like, in a lot of commercials and stuff, Americans will use like the British accent, but it
To
is
sound
interesting-
more educated
Yeah,
and
but it's
elegant.
interesting that these characters, these superheroes, that a lot of them come from random lands and planets, are all American speaking. How's
Right.
that the case? But
Right.
I mean, not all of them, but
Right.
But then
but
also
the American written comics
there is a weird relationship with superheroes because in like Spider-Man, Batman, and these kind of where like they're not heroes because they go against the police,
Right.
And so they
Oh,
don't
that's
do
true.
what the police tells them to do, and so
Right.
they're seen as heroes to us.
But they're vigilantes.
Yeah, because but in the actual, they're never portrayed as actual heroes to the people. Because it's like you're circumventing the law. What
and
makes
it's
you think
always
you're
like a
above the
small,
law?
and it's always a small minority of people who understand what
Yeah.
the superhero is doing at the time.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about it. I mean, if a superhero were to appear real time, destroy a city
Yeah,
while
it's
they're
kinda
being a
terrifying.
bad guy, yeah, like we would probably vilify it too. You
like-
know, even if their intentions are supposedly good.
That's
but
true,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
since like the damage that always occurs. But also they're dealing with a lot of them are dealing with characters that we would never have to deal with.
Right.
It's like we're never
exactly.
gonna have to deal with Doc Ock coming. Or maybe
Hopefully not.
actually,
Yeah, hopefully
that seems
not.
very possible that we could deal with
You know-
that.
yeah, you
Elon
never know.
Musk is gonna bust out of
Right, with, like,
one
tentacles
of his
coming
Malibu
out.
mansions.
No
The
kidding.
Neuralink has been completed. Some more association with
patriotism. Well, when I think of patriotism, I mean, USA obviously just comes up because I guess
Sure.
I'm American, but also capitalism.
Yes.
Capitalism, I think, because at least in the U.S., patriotism, I think, is viewed in some ways as a very capitalist thing.
Pulling yourself up by your bootstraps,
Right.
is very patriotic.
And American, yeah, exactly. Let's see, what else? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them, but let's dig deeper into this because this is just surface level stuff.
Sure. No. I have another one. I don't know. Cannot believe I didn't think about this. If you're just going to say patriot, something that comes to mind for me is conservative or Republican.
Oh, yeah.
How is it that?
Although I would argue that libertarians are also very patriotic.
Yeah, they probably feel like they're more. Yeah, but they're just.
They're just
they're the same
conservatives
thing.
that are socially liberal. Right. Well, yeah, they're
Yeah,
a conservative that's socially liberal,
yeah,
more or less.
Yeah, but I would say that how is it that the Republican has become the sort of the one that loves America and the one that cares about America? Meanwhile, the sort of the left wing person or the Democrat or the progressive
They
or
don't love
liberal,
America.
whatever you want to call it, they're the ones that like hate America and are always like trying to destroy it.
I think it's all just because it's a narrative that the right tries to paint.
Sure.
I think that's what comes through on most media channels and platforms in the U.S. But I would agree with you. I think the right and conservatives try to use patriotism as a political weapon in a way.
Yeah.
To disenfranchise someone, to make them seem like a bad candidate, a bad leader, a bad person because they don't love America.
Yeah, and they're like the quote unquote true Americans.
Right.
And it's so interesting too.
I think that's really racist. Like when
yeah.
you say the true, because who are they really talking about? They're talking about white people, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't think
all of this is sort of, I mean, all of this sort of true American and you, if you hate it, leave. These are all racist. Even if you're talking to like these are all racist undertones and all,
right.
Like especially that if you don't like it, leave kind of thing.
And the worst part is the people who really, in my opinion, would be even allowed to say that would be Native Americans, and you don't hear them say that.
Sure.
I've never heard an Native American post something. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, and it's such a weird thing too because it goes against sort of this melting pot mentality that we have here, where it's like, oh, this is what makes America great.
And I'm a firm believer in that. Really does make our country.
But then that goes along with but these people love America and they're going to conform to what we tell them America is.
And I don't like that. And I think some of the best Americans historically have been some of these immigrants who have come over here and. What is more American than, and this is the whole pulling yourself up by your bootstraps here, Jared.
Right.
What is more American than than coming to this country, working hard, helping others, trying to become a better person? I think that's recognizable and admirable in any country.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a very American thing if you look at it as you are adding to our culture by bringing parts of your culture too. And I don't think assimilating is a two-way street. I think it's unfair for people to just say, you have to come here and you have to learn our culture and this is how it is. I don't think that's how culture works in a realistic way.
Yeah. And it's like why? And it's like, well, because you're in America. But it's like, yeah, but I've lived I don't know, I make a makeup scenario. I've lived 20 years in America, but I'm from a different country. Yet you're the first person that's come at me like this, and now I have to conform to what you say.
Well, and the worst is when white people say, go back to your country, and what if it's like, well, I'm from here. I'm American. I was born here. I was raised here.
And also, it's so funny, too, where it's like you guys are these hardcore Americans saying this, and it's follow what America is. Yet, America has never been built on conforming.
Right.
A patriot is literally someone
kidding.
that did not conform to what they were told to
An
do.
American
to
patriot.
the point of murdering a bunch of people.
Right. Right. Murdering a bunch of people, technically committing treason.
Yeah.
So I think there is this idea of rebellion and rebelliousness ingrained in our culture because of the history of it.
Yeah, but that's where also so much contradiction lies,
right?
Because then there's the thing with the Confederate flag, where it's that is built off of.
I'm gonna go out there though, Jared, and just say this right now, and I think you will. I don't want to talk for you, but I think you will agree with this, and I think it's safe to say that the Untranslatable podcast. I don't like to use both of our opinions here as one thing, but I'm gonna say it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but. We do not support, and I don't think you're a patriot at all if you support the Confederate flag or the Confederacy for I'll just say two reasons. I think there's many more than two, but one, they lost the war, number one, and number two, actually no, I've got them flipped. The first one is they supported slavery. Mm-hmm. Number two is they lost the war anyways. So, and they went against the United States. So I guess three reasons.
And also, sure.
You're not a patriot. If you're rocking a Confederate flag on your truck, you're not a patriot.
And at this point, I think there's no denying that it's just a symbol of racism, straight up. For example, when NASCAR banned the flag, and then they did that
NASCAR
sort of,
is willing to ban a flag,
and then they did that sort of, and I actually heard something interesting. For a while, NASCAR's been trying to be more inclusive for a while, but it's their fans that are the non-inclusive ones,
right? And that doesn't surprise me.
But it's just used. What it's used for is just a thinly veiled sign of racism, essentially.
Sure.
And it is definitely, I think, partially like a sort of intimidation thing.
Right.
But then that sort of whole contradiction of like, how are you going to consider yourself like a rebel and American, and then having those two flags next to each
and
other
what's
make
even worse,
even less sense.
What's even worse is when I see the Nazi flag, the Confederate flag, and the U.S. flag.
How often do you see that?
I mean, pictures online of like white supremacy rallies. Thankfully, I don't see it very often.
I mean, my
in
basement.
person. Yeah, right. No kidding. Great, Jared. Thanks. The FBI is going to knock on our door tomorrow and be like, "Hey, can we see your basement real quick?" But yeah, I just think it's ridiculous, you know. And these people who say they're a true patriot, these white supremacists. I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Like you're just wrong. Like that's.
Is it possible to be a to call yourself a patriot and it not be something that you sort of side eye?
I think right now with the connotations of it, no. But I think it could change if we view patriotism different culturally. I think if people begin to realize that black people here are Americans, Latino people, Asian people, all these. I think if you view patriotism as this kind of we are the best country in the world and this more conservative from this conservative lens or viewpoint, then no.
For example, I think as a whole, I feel like it's safe to say that a lot of people when they think conservatives, or excuse me, when they think patriots, that was a weird Freudian slip. They don't think they're not thinking of like civil rights leaders or anything, or like abolitionists.
And I would say they are incredibly American. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, they are very American.
Are these people called patriots? I would say not. And even going back,
but I wonder, would they want to be called patriots?
Sure. Sure, but
that's a good question.
I think maybe not Malcolm X, but I think I don't know about Martin Luther King either, really. But I think there are a lot of people that aren't saying they have any dislike towards the U.S. And I'm not saying this is me, by the way.
Right.
I'm just saying people might say that and be like, yeah, I can recognize that there's racism, but I also obviously want to stay in the U.S. and I like it here. But but there has to be some sort of awareness of the reality of it, and it's like, I think that there are people like that would be okay being recognized as that, because it's like then maybe there's a sort of sense where it's like America, there's a more equality to America and sort of a less sort of like it's so like just black people in general for the most part have been here longer than a lot of a good number of white people here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's like and are the building blocks of the country, but it's like no one sees like I don't know slaves as patriots. Granted, they didn't really have a choice or anything and all that stuff, but like it's just an interesting sort of idea of like some sort of super military person is a patriot, and you have to like. And
also, why do you have to fight for your country to be a patriot?
Yes.
Like, I'm not disparaging soldiers, and I think we should support the soldiers.
But there's like this violent aspect to patriotism, which I guess they are.
Does some of that also come down to the superhero movies and heroism again? Are we making a circle here?
Well, I mean, it did start, though. I mean, it's even a bigger circle is, as we mentioned, Patriots kind of started. Yeah, obviously the word, we didn't invent the word as Americans,
right?
But it had its rise in the U.S. with a war. That's where it really started.
Yeah,
and with rebellion, is where that phrase started. So but I think that is also sort of the trademark of a good superhero, where it's like they especially one like these super American ones like Captain America, where it's like they are super like he is a soldier, yet he also kind of goes off the books a bit for America,
right?
And that's like yay.
Right. Yeah, I think the other thing too is a lot of people might even view the word patriot as almost they think of themselves. Some people as patriots as also being a hero to the country. And I think a lot of like it's always funny. I love there's a meme of I forget what movie it was, but there's a meme of one of the guys and he's a Nazi German character in the movie, and it's like when you realize, and it was about the U.S. and it was like when you realize you might be the bad guy, and then the meme was like, "Are we the baddies?" Because like I feel like
that might be Jojo Rabbit. Sounds
could be, yeah, could be.
Have you seen that movie? I told you to watch it. You'd like
I need it. Yeah, I need to watch it, but. But I think the whole thing here is a lot of times we can get so carried away with nationalism and patriotism, and we lose sight sometimes of what's right and what's good to our fellow countrymen and women.
Yes.
You know,
I'm listening to you, by the way.
yeah, I know you are.
I
You're
just
good.
want to pull up one of my favorite patriots. Have you heard about this woman? She's got like a New York Jersey accent. Oh, all right.
No.
Let me just play this for you.
Okay? Hold on. Like, are you fucking kidding me? We are witnessing the complete pussification of America. It started with Obama and Biden administration. Okay? Everybody's using the same fucking bathroom. Everybody gets a fucking participation trophy, and everybody's fucking offended. Well, guess what? If you don't like it here, take your
She
fucking
sounds
mask
awful
and
offended.
Get the fuck out. Why don't you just go to China?
China.
Trump 2020, motherfucker.
Oh,
Fuck
God.
outta here.
She's terrible.
And
Oh, man.
and the reason I play
I'm sure
one because her accent is hilarious to
Right.
me, but she is like some sort of like super American, you know.
Oh, God.
And it's that very like it's like that very tough guy. I feel like that's another one, and
Oh,
not
tough
even
guy,
just
yeah.
soldier, but tough,
Macho, toughness.
yeah, like not.
Which I think
not
to some
taking
extent is
any-
not a bad thing, but I think we take it to an extreme here in the U.S.
Well, I mean, we take it to the level of Ken and Karen on their lawn,
Right. With their
protecting
guns.
nothing.
Right, right.
Or we take it to the level
Well,
of
and why are some of these people so fragile? You know what I mean?
what are they
like
so afraid of? That's what I
right,
don't understand.
Right, exactly. That's what I meant to say. Exactly.
Yeah,
Jared.
What are they so afraid of?
Right.
And I think that shows some of the, fragility of, with all of this sort of toughness
Mm-hmm.
and all of this sort of, hiding behind your guns and stuff. It really does, like, in a weird way, highlight the fear that people have.
Yeah. And I think a true patriot isn't terrified of his brothers and sisters and his fellow
Right.
countrymen and countrywomen. You should be willing to have a discussion with them before it leads to you pulling out a loaded gun on
responding with the
somebody.
guns is a very odd response.
Why
for
can't more people
someone not scared?
respond with kindness and empathy and trying to be understanding? But
That's not- no
very
one-
idealistic. Anyways,
Well, that's the
let's-
thing. That's very unpatriot as empathy and kindness.
Right.
That's never in the
Right.
same conversation of this true patriot
Which-
was so empathetic.
I think leads us to, Jared, what I wish a patriot could be
Okay.
or was. Because I think this will also lead us into our song on the pod today a little bit.
Okay.
Which is, I think that I wish that you could be, I wish being a patriot meant that you loved and you cared for. I'm going to sound like a hippie right now, Jared, and you can chuckle and laugh and snicker all you want. But I think that really true patriotism would be taking care of your countrymen and countrywomen, doing what's right and what's best for the country. I don't think having a huge military means that you are necessarily a strong country or that you are a patriotic country. I think it means you are afraid or you are willing to meddle in a lot of other countries' business.
Yeah.
And so I wish patriotism was inclusivity, this idea of one and all for one, not this idea of I'm the greatest because I'm a patriot and you're not because you're not white or you know, I think yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. That's never going to happen. I can try to think of maybe a more realistic
Okay.
one that I would like to see, and it does have to do with this idea of having the biggest, strongest military as well. I think there is something like we have this facade of being the best country in the world because of our military, because we have a lot of rich people,
Right.
but you know, the income gap is just growing. And
Did we do an episode about why the U.S. is not the best country in the world?
I don't think we have. We could do that.
All right, I'll
Say,
text it
we
to
have.
you.
We're ready for. We have our next two episodes
we're
right
ready.
there.
Yeah.
Shoot. Oh yeah. So we have this sort of facade of the best country ever. A lot of companies are here, and innovation does happen here. I'm not saying nothing good happens here and all that stuff, but I think that to really prove that we are the best country ever is to have as many citizens as possible living very good lives, you know,
Yeah.
and having
Standard
a
of living.
high,
Yeah.
a high standard
Yeah.
of living where like a large number of people are living a livable. I'm not saying we're all riding around in Ferraris. we
Right,
all
that's
can.
not attainable.
We all have housing. We all are. None of us
Have
are
food,
afraid of
clothes.
health care,
Yep,
and we can
it's
just
a big
provide
one.
that stuff.
Right.
And I think that if we could do that, and it seems like financially, it's not impossible to think that we could do that.
Right.
Up there with some of the best sort of countries that quote unquote socialist
Right.
countries.
And have the happiest
Yeah.
and best standards of living.
And I
agree.
feel like true patriotism to me is not this sort of idea of like being the toughest or strongest country and
Right.
people are afraid of us.
Would you mind letting her out? Sorry to
but
interject
living
mid-point,
living
Jared.
a life where we can quote unquote brag that
Right.
that on a whole our lifestyle is the best, and not just
Right.
and that everyone is living as many people as possible are living a quality lifestyle and not concerned about their next meal or if they
Right.
get sick,
Yeah.
what's gonna happen.
I think
to their
healthcare is a
house.
big one. I think I agree with you. I think that's more realistic, and I think that is very patriotic.
and I think that the fake patriotism is like this sort of
we're the best country,
and we're
rah,
pretending
rah,
that
rah.
we're almost like it's sort of. I mean, maybe we are, but it's like this sort of fear we strike into other people, where it's like, well, we're not going to go to war with these countries because they would never want to go up against our military.
Right,
Where
right.
it's like, well, why
Why does it have to be at that level?
Yeah, why do we
can't
always
we
just-
have good relationships with?
it's like,
these
well, people aren't
countries?
fighting us because they're afraid of us. It's like, well, how about they just don't want to fight us?
Or how about we have a good enough relationship with them where it's
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm
positive,
saying.
and that's why. Yeah, exactly. I will say this though, Jared. I think in order for this type of patriotism to become to exist, really, we're going to need people to change their views a little bit on healthcare, on qualities of life. I'm not sure how we can do that. I think it could be done, but I think, like, for example, I think there's a lot of Americans against the idea of healthcare for everybody. A lot of Americans view healthcare not as a right,
Yeah.
but as a privilege. So I think we need to somehow change that. But I think this pandemic has
even-
showed some of that a little bit.
And even people that have health care, like I feel like a lot of people feel trapped in their job because it's like,
Because of their healthcare.
yeah, where it's like, I got to make a serious decision about whether I want to leave this job because I might hate my job and want to do something else, but my job provides great health care,
Right.
and I'm ruining my standard of living out of fear of this giant
Right.
perk of working for a company.
Like, I'll tell you right now, Jared, like, I have basic health care, but I don't have great health care because I'm
Yeah.
paying out of pocket right now. You know,
Yeah.
I can't afford right now basic medical things, and it's a shame. Thankfully, I'm healthy. I'm very lucky. And as an American, I know plenty of other Americans who are listening to this right now could say, me too.
well, how do you get your health care?
It's just through a company. It's just Priority Medical.
Okay, is it expensive?
It's like, I think $60 or $70 a month, but that's just major medical. So
Right,
that
right,
means
right,
if
right.
something really serious happens, I'll be covered.
Right.
I still have like $1,000 deductible. Luckily, I've been smart enough with money with this last year where I do have, a rainy day emergency fund where
Sure.
I could cover that
For if you
$1,000
get sick.
deductible. But if I get sick, but a lot of
Right.
Americans don't have $1,000 they can just
Sure.
throw away if they get sick.
And
it's
you
a
don't have a
right.
steady
Right.
like expense stream also, which
Exactly.
is a benefit too.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I work for a company that provides great insurance, and I don't
Right.
feel trapped because I like my job. I'm
Right.
I'm happy.
And
to
you
be
have
there.
a good job, I think.
But sometimes,
Yeah.
in a weird way, I do feel a little like guilty. Where it's like, well, especially since I'm your age, I'm relatively healthy. I don't use my insurance anywhere close to its fullest
Right.
extent. But it's like I just have like this. And but it's not that I shouldn't have it. It's that everyone should
Right.
have this sort of
Right.
lack of fear of what if something happens to my health. And so, it's a weird sort of, for example, like we walked through Cranbrook a couple weeks ago. I told you about, and it made my partner kind of sad because she was talking about how it made her think about all of the public schools and all the terrible schooling systems in our country.
Right.
And you walk around Cranbrook, which is one of the nicest schools in the country,
Yep.
definitely in Michigan.
Super nice. Yeah.
And they have every sort. They have looms. They have a whole giant art
crazy.
studios
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
museums, and it's just like a state of the. It's better than a lot of colleges.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm sad, not even because I don't think that this school should be here, but it's like I wish or she's like I wish more people had access to this. I wish this was
Right.
accessible
Right.
to the common
Right.
person. You don't have to pay a college tuition to go to
Right.
this high school and middle school.
Right. Well, Jared, I just want to say here and now, let's propose some new patriotism and be a true patriot by
the smartest country in the world.
Yeah, the smartest, the most inclusive.
Yes.
The happiest, the healthiest. Notice we didn't say wealthiest because
Yes.
I think money is important, but I think if we continue going the way we go with the top 1% hoarding all this wealth, and we have so many poor people, it's going to become a breaking point at some point.
I think there also is something too. Another thing of patriotism I thought of is made in America.
Yeah.
There's a very weird also thing there where like that's very like a very proud thing, whether it's your car or your jeans or
But
something.
I will say, I do think, and maybe I've been brainwashed here, Jared, but I do think a lot of made in America goods are very high quality. They're well made. You know?
Well, that's the thing is, and I think there is something to that. And I think there also is, and the reason I bring that up is because I think another thing I love about patriotism is the idea, especially today, of like innovation. And I think back in the day, a lot of that innovation used to be sort of thought innovation. A lot of it was racist, but but there was a lot of innovating ideas, and I think that now technology is a big innovator, and I think that being sort of on the cutting edge is very good for patriotism as well, and just for being like this sort of country where we can. That helps with everything that we're talking about here, and I think that that kind of goes along with the Made in America thing. I'm trying to, for some reason, extend an olive branch, and be like, listen, we can. There can be this whole aspects of.
I think we can make patriotism positive.
Sure, yeah.
It's not easy, but I think you've proposed some really good ones. I think the whole smartest innovation's important. And I think, if you do look at the past, I think there's this weird thing right now going on in the United States where I think there's this kind of anti-intellectualism kind of thing where people just want stupid, funny TikTok videos, and they want... You know what I mean?
And it goes along to, like, with athletes, stick to sports or stick to whatever.
You can't have a political opinion if you, play basketball.
Right.
Or football or whatever. Yeah, it's
and I think
ridiculous.
that's weird, too, also because I feel like patriotism would be a lot better if people actually... These people that were even believed to be patriots stuck to like these tenets that America's even built off of. And I'm not saying I'm in love with the tenets that America's built off of, but I will say that the people that do claim to be patriots don't adhere to them anywhere close to what they say.
They have a very twisted view of what
whether
they are.
It comes to free speech, whether it comes to protesting, whether it comes to freedom of press. All these things have been so bastardized today, and it's a very odd idea of patriotism that only works if you are agreeing with someone.
Right. Yeah, I think it needs to be more inclusive. I think we need to change the way people view patriotism, the United States, because right now I don't think patriotism is a healthy phenomenon.
No, and it is a very American phenomenon.
Right.
I will say.
Yeah.
Obviously, you mentioned other countries sort of have a similar vibe.
Right.
But I think that we definitely take it to another level.
Right. Exactly.
How do you feel about
Prudy?
How do you feel about 4th of July celebrations? They seem a little stupid these days.
I'm worried about it this year, especially.
I'm a little nervous.
I think there's going to be a big spike in a couple weeks after the 4th. You heard it here.
Oh, you're worried about it because of the Rona.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think in general,
I think they're just I think they're very misguided.
Yeah, I used to always, not always, but a lot of summers I would spend my 4th of July in Red Lodge, Montana, visiting my cousins and my family, and they would always have a little parade. I kind of liked it, though, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think there are facets of 4th of July I like, but I do think it is overblown. That's the thing, it's a big party. It's a huge party, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Well, Jared, should we... all right, here, let me get her in.
Chad's every time someone new comes to Chad's house, Chad's dog has to interact with that person. And if she can't, it causes a whole problem.
She's a needy dog. Pretty good, too.
Yeah.
She was really being a good
But
girl for the most part.
every time someone new comes over, she's like, I gotta vet this person.
Right. Well, I mean, they want to see who it is. Now we got a little
You kept
bee flying
recording,
around.
right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Just
I
making
didn't
sure because
stop.
I was gonna keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your song of the pod or our song of the pod because you brought it up a few weeks ago when we didn't do it. But I had mentioned I never really realized how patriotic of a song it was, just because it's so easy to get caught up in the guitar that's happening. And
That's
not the
true.
lyrics.
Yeah. So our song of the pod for today's episode is called "Machine Gun" by Jimi Hendrix. And yeah, it's actually the way I became acquainted with the song, Jared, was in high school, maybe even younger, I guess. But when I really became more aware of the lyrics and stuff was high school. I actually had to do a project for my social studies class, and I had to look up anti-war music. Well, there were a couple choices for projects. That's the one I picked. I'm a music nerd. I think our listeners know by now. It's a pretty safe thing to say. And so anyways, the assignment was pick 5 songs, and this was back when we burned CDs. I feel old saying this, Jared.
CDRs.
Well, I burned a CD with five songs on there, and Machine Gun was one of the 5. And the song was written during I don't know if it was the peak, but it was written during the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And it's a response to the Vietnam War going on, which many Americans opposed.
And that was a big part of art and pop culture in general was a lot of, I guess I'm not gonna say just opposition, but a lot of commentary on the war.
Right, and I think this is a very patriotic song because it actually talks about how we really aren't that different from people of other countries, yet we are so willing to go to war to fight for the U.S. government and kill these innocent people when we're both just the same.
Yeah.
He says, I pick up my axe and I fight like a farmer now. So he's talking also about like a lot of common people who had to go to war that, never returned. And I think, unfortunately, if you look at American history, sounds like there's
someone is
drag
going
race. Yeah.
so fast right now.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely a drag race. I'm hurried. I'm worried I'm going to hear like a eventually.
That
Ooh.
sounds like a exotic car going top speed.
Right. No kidding. There is that flat, straight straightaway on this road.
I
where
guess
we
so.
live. So yeah. Anyways, back to our song on the pod. Yeah. So it's what are your thoughts on it though, Jared? On Machine Gun.
I find it, it's interesting. That's another thing that it's not really in the zeitgeist as much today as it used to be, but that's another interesting thing that is very considered unpatriotic as anti-war and all the anti-war.
Well, I think that's
sentiment.
very American.
And it's like, why is it bad for us not to want to send our own people to fight a war that they don't even know what it's about?
Right, and they're likely to be killed. They're killing other people. A lot of innocent people die in war.
Yeah,
I think it's
but not well, I guess yes, our innocent people, but not our citizens.
right.
And so it's so easy to detach yourself.
But
from the
I
fact
think that's the issue.
that like you don't like these people are so easy to. It's like even now it's like. I feel like people don't realize, like, when they say, this many civilians were killed, it's like they're talking about people like us just walking to the grocery store
and then
or
boom,
driving
you're
on the
dead.
street. Then there's just like a giant missile lands in the middle of your city.
Right.
And it's like, I feel like people don't have that connection to, like, this is just like these people are as connected to the war as we are, which is, not really knowing why it's happening. Although they're even more connected because they're the ones actually being attacked by it.
Right, exactly. So I think this is a very patriotic song. Obviously, as you mentioned, the guitar work is great.
Yeah.
I think it's about 9 or 10 minutes long.
12, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so
There's 18 different versions of it, though. So
Yep. So yeah, but it's a good one, and I think a lot of being patriotic and being American is voicing your opinion, protesting, and I don't think it's unpatriotic to be anti-war. Also, to be honest, I don't have anything against people who want to work in the military or want to be a soldier. They want to serve their country. I have nothing wrong with that. What I have a problem with in the United States is just the amount of money we spend on military. I think it's wasteful. I think it could be spent in better ways. And I don't think if you're anti-war, you're anti-American or you're not a patriot.
I will say I don't have a problem with people going to the military either. But
For some people, it's a good option.
It is, yeah, and it's a good way to get a college education and all that stuff.
Yep.
But I think for those people that are very like gung-ho about protecting America, that bums me out a little bit because I think that's super misguided.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to deny that it's a great way to like get a jump start to your life, especially if you don't have a lot of great opportunity, especially for college or
Absolutely.
Or I don't know, employment.
Well, and I know some people have joined the military because of the travel.
Yeah,
you get to live
that's
in
true.
different countries.
That's true.
If you're on different bases, depending on what branch you work in. So,
yeah.
So yeah, so let's recap today's episode, Jared. So patriotism. We haven't even covered half of the iceberg here, but I think we've talked about quite a bit of it. I think right now,
American flag swimwear, that's a big part of it.
Big thing. American flag anything.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
That's true.
I almost wore my Do It for America shirt that we have from our fraternity that has an American flag on it
for some reason.
But yeah, I think though, patriotism and being a patriot could become a good thing one day, maybe, but I think a lot will have to change with it.
Yeah, I mean, but the reason I don't think it will is because our values have to change.
Right, and
as
it takes
country.
a long time for values to change.
Yeah, and that doesn't.
We're fickle. Yeah, it doesn't change overnight. That's for sure.
And it probably takes some sort of
Right.
I don't want to say catastrophe, but it takes big events. I guess kind of like what's happening right now, to be fair.
That's true. So, Jared, what are let's just recap or end today on some positive notes, though. What are some good things that could come of being a patriot or patriotism?
Well, first of all, I like a great barbecue just as good as the next person.
That's fair.
I can eat a dog or any sort of good barbecued meat.
I think also being proud of your country for good achievements is also a good part of patriotism. I think some of the, I think sports are a huge one we didn't even really cover.
Oh my
sports
gosh!
Are a huge one.
Let's talk about this a little bit. I wanted to talk about famous patriots, and the first one on my list was definitely going to be Tom Brady.
Right. Oh,
and not only because he used to play for the Patriots,
and that's a pun. Yeah. That's funny.
But because I think like there is something to, especially football and baseball.
Yep.
This sort of all-American
is apple pie, baby.
and it goes a lot with the white quarterback.
Yep.
Or it goes along with sort of the superstar baseball player, usually a white dude, even though most of the superstars these days
Hispanic.
are from Dominican Republic or something.
Right.
And that is such a huge part of it. You know why? Because we look up to these people like they are saving our country.
Right.
Like it is sort of a same heroicism. And in a weird way, it's a similar sort of heroicism, not because they're helping us in a similar way, don't get it twisted, but because on a physical level, it's a similar sort of achievement.
Right.
Like you're sort of the peak physical tough guy.
Right.
Whether you're in the military or you're in sports, it's a different sort of toughness, obviously.
For sure.
But you're still sort of at the peak of your game physically. If you're in a sport, and I think so there is that no one can mess with you. You look at most football players and they always joke about like, listen, I don't want to cross paths with that guy. And it's like they're sort of like you can't beat them up kind of vibe that sort of makes them. And they are, representing our cities and our states, and we feel like they are a representation of who we are. And so when they win, it's like we're winners.
Right.
And and that's why I think it goes along with these American sports, and it's like these Tom Brady-esque people or these Babe Ruth people are looked up to, like, oh, this guy's a real American.
Right.
Look how far or Brett Favre.
Right. Look how far he can throw a football.
Or Peyton Manning.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
He looks good in some Wrangler jeans.
Right. I think jeans are also very American.
That's true.
Well,
that's because I think it started with slavery, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, probably.
Because I believe so, because they're very tough and durable.
I mean, they're working pants.
Yeah.
Levi's jeans in general, or not Levi's, but jeans in general are working pants. But yeah, I think patriotism is definitely an interesting and very complex issue, Jared, without a doubt, and especially in the context of the United States.
Yeah.
So let us know what you think about patriotism or how you express patriotism, or you don't, at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram, see this beautiful background, and see our epic shirts today at Untranslatable Podcast. Also check us out on YouTube for our song of the pod playlist today, Machine Gun by Jimi Hendrix. And we hope you enjoyed today's episode. And as we say, let us know how we can make this episode better for you. 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. So as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, dziękujemy, muchas gracias, shisha, and do svidania. All right, good work. Oh! I was hoping to have you play Machine Gun, but I forgot to mention it before, but this is okay. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, that was a good one. I think we could have talked a lot more about sports.
I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, that's okay. I thought we were talking more about some of the deeper issues than sports anyways.
Yeah.
So,
We covered.
Yeah.
I think we covered the idea of it, where it's
Yeah.
like it is like these
Absolutely.
all-American sort of
I think,
athletes.
and being back in America too, I think I have a different appreciation for patriotism and what is being patriotic or patriot. Yeah, I
quit.
figured. Yeah, we ain't quitters here, Jared. We're Americans.
And it's hard for a lot of black people to
Right.
relate to patriotism without
Sure.
feeling some sort of
I could see that.
confliction there.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think that's totally okay.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to feel that way. I don't think it's okay. That's how it is.
Of course, I know what
But
you mean.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, I think we'll end this bad boy because we got some